Hi, I'm Papia. In this problem, we have to graph y equals x to the 4 and then various transformation of x to the 4. Now, first note that this is x to the n, where n is 4 and 4 is even. Therefore, the graph of x to the 4 will be very similar to the graph of x squared. The only difference is it will be flatter near the origin. So, because the power is even, it's similar to x squared. But it will be flatter near the origin. So the graph will look like almost like x squared, opening upward, but it will be flatter near the origin. So this is a rough sketch of y equals x to the 4. Okay, so now let's move on to various transformation of x to the 4. The very first one is x plus 3 to the 4th, which means that the graph will shift 3 units to the left. So it will be the same graph of x to the 4, just shifted 3 units to the left. So the graph will look like roughly like this. Next transformation, the function is x to the 4 minus 3. That means this graph will shift down 3 units. So the same graph of x to the 4, but you will shift down 3 units. So roughly the graph will look like something like this. All right, moving on. The next function is 4 minus x to the 4. Now you have to think of this transformation in 2 parts. First, look at the x to the 4 term. It has a negative sign, which means because it's negative x to the 4, you have to first reflect the graph of x to the 4 about x-axis. So first, reflect about x-axis, which means it will open downward, and then you add 4 to it. That means you shift up 4 units. So think about it. You're taking x to the 4, you're reflecting it. Okay, so it's upside down, but then you're shifting it up 4 units. So it'll look like something like this. So the next function is 1/2 times x minus 1 to the power 4. So notice that, look at this x term. Since we have x minus 1 to the 4, that means you take the graph of x to the 4 and shift right 1 unit. Next, you look at this constant 1/2. Now, since 1/2 is less than 1, that means you shrink vertically by a factor of 1/2. Okay, so let's try to graph this. Remember, you take the exact graph of x to the 4, shift it 1 unit, so you know what it will look like. But now you shrink by a factor of 1/2. So it will be roughly like this. Moving on, next function is 2x to the 4 plus 1. Now 2x to the 4, that means you will first shrink horizontally by a factor of 2. That's what it means by this term, 2x to the power 4. And then plus 1 means you will shift up 1 unit. Okay, so first you shrink horizontally. That means you will actually stretch vertically. And you have to shift up 1 unit. So it'll look roughly like this. The last function is 1/2 x to the power 4 minus 2. Okay, so look at the x term, 1/2 x, and 1/2 is less than 1. Therefore, you first stretch horizontally by a factor of 1/2. And then -2 means you will shift down 2 units. All right, stretch horizontally means shrink vertically. So you first stretch horizontally and then you shift down 2 units. So this graph will look like roughly like this. So this completes the graph of all the transformation of the function x to the 4. Thank you.